So who is Mr. Jesus Christ? What was the significance of his choice to come here? And how did he, more or less, go from Christ to man and back again? And the passion of the Christ, the passion of Jesus, to teach, to serve, no matter the odds, no matter the consequences, can be a beautiful blueprint for those who wish to become Christ in accelerated fashion by adopting what I loosely call a mission-based life. Can y'all hear me? Wonderful. Hi, welcome. So, Mr. Christ. Christ was not the Son of God. There's no such thing. God doesn't have genitals. God's not married. God's not a man. And he certainly doesn't have any kids. All right, so let's get real. So who is Mr. Jesus Christ? What was the significance of his choice to come here? And how did he, more or less, go from Christ to man and back again? But more importantly, how can you go back again to your true consciousness of being, to your Christ nature? So first of all, the entity known as Jesus, if we take the simplest to understand version of this, I would say that he was not that much different from you or I. A spirit, a soul, a consciousness that saw an opportunity to be of service. A wanderer, for those of you familiar with that term. A soul that's more advanced than the lessons that typically need to be learned within this incarnational state. So in a sense, that was the first sacrifice that this being made, was to be born. Something you already have in common with him, especially if you are of a wandering nature as well. Birth is that initial sacrifice, that initial risk that is taken for the potential of mainly the awakening, the joy of other selves. Now, in Jesus' case particularly, there was an overwhelming passion or love, so known as the passion of the Christ, perhaps, which is actually a distortion. It's a flaw. It is also a strength. It is also a beauty. It is also a quality. But compared to the field of perfection, compared to the completely balanced entity, the passion of the Christ is a distortion. Doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it negative, but it is a distortion. It's the original oneness with a twist, with a personalization, with a distortion, right? So not bad or good per se. In this case, you could say it was beautiful and positive. It's a distortion of love in the form of passion. The passion to awaken, the passion to teach, something I'm very guilty of myself. I'm distorted similarly. It's not a negative remark. It's not a self-criticism per se. It's just an observation. But it is important observation if we want to understand the nature of Christ as he became man once again, and some of his challenges as a teacher, as a light bringer. We can understand when we view it from the angle of this distortion, of this passion of the Christ, this passion to serve, this passion to teach, this passion and compassion for other selves, which in his case was very beautiful, very intensified, very polarized in that direction of service to others. But again, he was not the exclusive Son of God by any means. There is no such thing in the entirety of existence. He was a being just like you. And out of the passion and compassion, and out of his advancement as a soul, he saw an opportunity, he felt the calling, and he chose to boot up this video game of morons, the video game of us, the morons on Earth. And so that was his first sacrifice, to become a moron himself, effectively, which is what happens when we incarnate. We forget our nature, hence from Christ to man, and then ultimately back again. We forget our Christ nature, and we become incarnated, and we become made of the substance, the conditioning of that particular video game, that particular realm within the much greater cosmos. And in this case, that would be the human mind, the human conditioning, the human constructs, and also the human bodies, or body, with all its genetics and its limitations and so forth. So hence the first sacrifice, which we are all familiar with. Once again, nothing new to you. You've been there, done that, and now you're here. On your way back to Christ consciousness, to remember why you are here. And the passion of the Christ, the passion of Jesus, to teach, to serve, no matter the odds, no matter the consequences, can be a beautiful blueprint, example, for those who wish to become Christ in accelerated fashion by adopting what I loosely call a mission-based life, as opposed to a personal life, which is extremely boring, mundane, redundant, outdated, painful, sinful, detrimental, stinky, stupid, retarded, not useful. Whereas a mission-based life is just a different permission slip. It's ultimately made of no other stuff or substance than yourself, as much as the personal life is. But the mission-based life provides us with an avenue, a channel, into which our energies can successfully combine, if you will, into the point until it's like a laser. And Christ's sacrifice, Christ's passion, and single-mindedness was a great example of what it's like to devote oneself to a mission-based life, which is effectively what he lived, insofar as I understand his life story. So the mission-based life is one of the blueprints that he left. He left many, sacrifice being another, although that is part and parcel of the mission-based life. And a strong component I want to touch upon in this session as well is intensity, the power of intensification, the usurping, in a good way, power of intensification, meaning the power to swallow up, the power to overwhelm, the power to influence yourself, to re-influence yourself, to re-inform yourself. Again, part and parcel of his particular incarnation, his particular demonstration, his intensity, sacrifice, mission, one-pointedness, messenger of God. Things that are close to my heart, or qualities that are close to my heart. And qualities that are close to the heart of Massaro University's overall holistic approach to spirituality, which does include sacrifice, the joy of it, the joy of sacrifice, purification, dedication, devotion, surrender. So consider for yourself for a moment if you feel like you want to devote yourself to a mission-based life. It doesn't have to be my mission. It should be your mission. Are you willing to dedicate yourself to a mission-based life, whatever your mission genuinely is? Are you ready for the joy, profound joy of sacrifice? Are you ready for the profound liberation and passion, the constant stream of intelligence, perfect timing, wisdom, love for others, true love for others, not excluding yourself? Are you ready to live an exciting life, a life that is filled with intensity, moment-to-moment intensity, which ups the ante, it ups the vibration? The more intense you are, the more you'll recognize God. It's a bit of a general statement, but overall I stand by that. The more intense you are, the more God will be with you, because literally you cannot call upon any energy that's not God's energy, that's not infinity's intelligent energy. So when you intensify, when you turn up the dial of your intensity, the intensity of your passion, the intensity of your seeking, the intensity of your purification, the intensity of your courage, the intensity of your perseverance, the intensity of your meditation, the intensity of your desire to know freedom, the intensity of your laughter, the intensity of your giving, your generosity. It really doesn't matter what it is. But when you increase the intensity, and for some this is even negativity, I don't recommend this, but for those who are negatively inclined or simply greatly confused, even being intense in their negativity brings them closer to God. Again, not something I recommend, but I'm just saying, if you look at the people that are negatively oriented or that are simply confused, and ultimately all negatively oriented beings, no matter how highly advanced they are confused. So if you look at intensely confused people that take intense actions with intense emotionality and intense energies, these people in some cases are closer to God in a weird way than those who lounge on their couch all day long thinking that they're spiritual, peaceful, loving hippies. So intensity really is the channeling of will. It's the channeling of faith. It's the channeling of connection to God. Now, there's lesser ways to channel this, and there's more appropriate and more balanced ways to channel this. However, the intensity is what I want to focus on here. If you go back to any moment in your life where you were intense about anything, really, it doesn't matter. Intensely angry, perhaps. Intensely frustrated. Intensely in love. Intensely career-driven. Intensely creatively inspired. In that intensity, there is a calling. And ultimately, there's only one thing we can call in, and that's more energy. In other words, higher frequency. Greater light, more light. And there's only one light. Throughout all appearances, there's only one light. So when you increase your intensity, you are effectively stepping into a mission-based life already. You might just not know it yet. But every time you do, you become more mission-oriented. You become reshaped into less of a personal self and more of a vehicle that can be of service now. Now, it still needs to be awakened. It still needs to be made conscious, obviously. You can't just be intensely frustrated and then suddenly have a mission-based life that's of service to others. But the key ingredient for transmuting the stinky little pond of your personal life into this blissful heaven of divine sacrifice, love and devotion, all-consumingly, requires intensity. So check your intensity meters. How intense are you? How intense are you in your seeking? How intense are you in your passion? Are you just answering the small and big blinds, or are you all in? If you're not all in, then what? You incarnated, you made the initial sacrifice, might as well reap the benefits, the joy, the bliss of your sacrifice by sacrificing everything that you harvested through your sacrifice of birth. Meaning, give away all that you seem to possess. Intensity has you live with a fire, a truthfulness, an authenticity that will burn through things, mental things, emotional things, belief system things, physical things, circumstantial things, relational things. You live with that intensity. God is closer to you because you're literally calling him into your veins, calling him into your energy body, calling him into your consciousness. Him, her, it, whatever. Jesus was intense. Above all else, he was intense. Not a dull moment in his journey of returning to Christ consciousness. And not a dull moment in his journey post having refound himself as the Christ. And then bringing forth this message, which is the journey for most of you, eventually in some way, shape, or form, to some degree. It is to refine your Christ nature, first of all, which requires intensity. And then to share that Christ nature with others to the best of your ability, which will also come with intensity. It shall be intensely blissful. It shall be intensely self-destructive in the most beautiful way possible. The destruction of the little self, the dissolution of the little ego self, the little gremlin, because of the intensity, because of the dedication, the devotion, the sacrifice. And therein lies your bliss, my friends, not the bliss of the moment, not the bliss of the mansion, not the bliss of the Porsche, but the bliss of eternity, the kingdom of heaven, and the Spirit of Christ. Intensify your life. It's your fuel. So what's a mission-based life? And why should you want it? Well, I already listed a few reasons why you might want to consider moving away from a personal life to a mission-based life. There's many angles to take here, but the primary one is that a mission-based life accelerates your journey back into Christ consciousness, back into enlightenment, back into the kingdom of heaven, back into where you came from originally. Not just like a sleep state. Oh, let me go back to source. But with an intensity, with a passion, with a creative potential that knows no bounds. Where you let that source be free and you let that freedom express itself freely. You let freedom be free. It's one thing to know freedom. It's another to let freedom actually be free through you. It's one thing to know Christ consciousness. It's another to express Christ consciousness. Because that requires sacrifice of all your ideas, your beliefs, your social status. You're seeking for validation. All these stinky little ideas and motivations that are born out of a lack of intensity for God. So you see the intensity for God, which Jesus so beautifully demonstrated, because he gave himself, or at least his property, his body, his mind, his life, his words, his time, his dedication, his love, his heart. He gave that to the people in the name of God, for the sake of God. So his entire existence was a breathing, living, ongoing sacrifice. And yet he knew the kingdom of heaven, and perhaps you do not. We have many ideas about sacrifice being a negative thing, but actually it leads you to the kingdom of heaven. So he gave his body freely. He realized, I borrowed some substance, some of the clay of this video game called Earth, from this time and this space and this conditioning and this collective consciousness. Let me take a little blob of this clay, turn it into a body, turn it into a mind, give me a starting point to speak to the people. As he began to realize his true nature, by nature of his realization, he realized the non-possessive principle that I've been talking about, which is that actually this clay belongs to the people. It's made of the people. This very body, this very mind is made of the people that does not belong to me, does not belong to Christ. And Christ knew this, and Christ was not identified with it. Therefore, Christ was able to hand back over his body, his mind, as public property, which it effectively is.
Massaro University is a vibrant online community dedicated to accelerating your awakening and activating your purpose for the benefit of all. Join live sessions with Bentinho and workshops led by experienced facilitators. Deepen your wisdom, empowerment, and self-knowledge, and experience life-changing shifts week after week. At Massaro University, finding like-hearted seekers is easy and inevitable. Lifelong friendships and a shared purpose fuel profound personal and collective growth. Create your free account today at massaro.university and step into a community that's designed to elevate every aspect of your life.
Technically speaking, your body, your mind, is made of what it's made of. You as a consciousness are visiting it. You're on a holiday. Now, it might not be a very joyful holiday all the time, but you're on holiday. The sooner you remember that you came here to be on holiday, the more fun you'll begin to have, most likely. But this stuff is not yours, you see, ultimately. Now, you don't have to realize that, you don't have to agree with this, but this is public property. This belongs to your family, to your husband, to your wife, to your kids, to your society. The only thing this is good for is chocolate and teaching. Sharing your message, your blueprint, activating your blueprint. And chocolate. So see this as borrowed time. You're literally just buying a ticket at the counter. Here you go. You get this vehicle for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever, 120 years. Go have fun. Enjoy your holiday. And then we forget where we came from. We forget that we are Christ. And the ideas that we've borrowed, the movie that we're borrowing, takes on a real serious tone, takes on a real realistic feeling, starts to feel real. We forget who we are, why we came here. And now, in that forgetfulness, we identify with it. We possess the body. We feel like this is us. And now we start to live a life that is of a personal nature, that is contradicting entirely why we came here. At least for those of you who consider themselves more advanced seekers, if you will, here to be of service, here on some kind of a mission. And intensity is what will excavate this mission for you. The intensity will burn off the dross of your personal life and open the gates to remembrance. Penetrate the veil of forgetfulness with the blade of blazing intensity. Which, by the way, is profoundly joyful, which I've already mentioned. Joy doesn't even cut it. It's everything you want. It's everything you seek. You see, the complete package reward of everything we've ever wanted to buy online or to get from someone's validation is contained in your sacrifice of the stinky little pond of your self-centered, God-contradicting, antichrist-like personal idea of a life. When you sacrifice this, you gain everything that you've ever wanted. Single-pointedly, single-handedly. And intensity is the sword that will cut through the mist, the fog that's hanging over this stinky little pond that makes you forget the pristineness of why you're here, the clarity, the vividness, the reality. You have to understand that you are asleep. You are sleeping as we speak. I'm a sleepwalker, and I let you know that you are dreaming. You are sleeping. You know when you wake up from a dream because of something that happened in the dream? It always requires intensity, does it not? Something either intensely blissful or intensely scary or frustrating happens. And then you wake up from the dream because of the intensity within the dream. This is a lot like that. If you intensify your life, if you intensify yourself, your purification, your seeking, your devotion, your remembrance, if you prioritize moment to moment why you are here, what you really are, and see through the mist of these illusions, then that energy will wake you up. You cannot find that intensity in the personal life, not the type of intensity I'm speaking of. You can be catalyzed intensely in your personal life by this higher self's intensity that's trying to wake you up to this intensity, trying to get you back on track with your mission. So there can be intensity within your dream world that sparks you alive, that sparks you awake, that causes you to seek more intensely. But the intensity I speak of will wake you up, and it is a mission-based life which will keep you on track. What is your mission? Why are you here? Wakey, wakey. My friends, why are you here? What do you want? Who are you? What you gonna do with the rest of your beautiful life? Who are you gonna meet? What you gonna tell him? What are you gonna tell the world? What are you gonna demonstrate through the beautiful microcosmic representation of your true nature, which is your personal life? You can demonstrate who you are, why you are here, through your body. You can paint a painting of a message and encode it in your action, in what you demonstrate, in how you live, in what you say when you say it, how you say it, what you don't say when you don't say it, how you don't say it, how you move, what you prioritize. What would you be like if you were fully awake? Once you've burned off all the dross of your personal life's associations, conditioning, once you've purified the clay out of which you were born, and have reinfused it with your true intent, shaped it according to your pre-incarnative nature and mission, what would your life look like? What if you had been fully awake 20 years ago? What would your life look like now? That's a quantum leap, but you can still take that. It's a parallel reality. It coexists with this one. Maybe in this one you were a little bit more lazy. But in the other one you accelerated, and that coexists now. It might be quite a leap. It might require quite a shift. It might literally require a leap of complete faith within yourself. But there is a parallel reality where you were completely awake 20 years ago, and you began 20 years ago to compound and accelerate the changes that reinformed your existence according to the image of your true Christ nature and your mission as an aspect of that. So 20 years of an awakened life in your unique blueprint, what would that look like today? The parallel life where you stopped fucking around and you got really real and you woke up and you devoted yourself and the intensity was there and the love was there. The passion of the Christ was with you and every moment mattered. Doesn't mean you were always serious. It just means you were always intense. When you're laughing and you don't take anything seriously, you're intensely laughing and not taking anything seriously. It's about the intensity. It's not about seriousness. Just to be clear. But there is that sincerity. There's that earnestness that comes with intensity, where you're paying attention, you're paying attention, you're paying attention, because every moment is alive and it's waking you up. It's waking you up. It's waking you up. You're not a passive passenger in your own choice to sacrifice by incarnating. You're not just going to watch this movie do its thing. You awaken. You prioritize. You intensify. Had you done that, started that, truly, completely, with a awakening, a genuine full awakening 20 years ago, what then now would your life look like? Do you have any idea? Do you have any clue? Can you imagine that? Tune into it, because this is the missed potential and the procrastination and the guilt and the resentment and the frustration and the impatience and the restlessness that you've been feeling for the past 20 years. And all the shit that's happened to you because of this negligence. All the lesser manifestations were a representation of your lack of intensity, your lack of care. Jesus cared. Jesus cared deeply, profoundly, moment to moment. He cared. Do you care? Do you care about now? Right now, this second, are you aware? This second, are you intent? Intense does not mean psychotic, by the way. It does not mean losing yourself in concepts or ideas or power games or arrogance, okay? Intensity means to be intensely present to this moment, intensely attentive, joyfully caring about the opportunity in this moment, unlocked by passion. But get a sense for yourself. You don't have to complete that now, but as a sort of a homework assignment, really tune in, because it's not just a hypothetical question. It's not just me being facetious trying to get a point across and wanting to make you feel like a moron. That's not my point. This is a genuine exercise. You tune into what is my life like, the one that exists parallel to this reality, where 20 years ago I had a profound awakening and got all my spiritual ducks in a row. Everything was aligned. All my passion was single-minded, single-pointed. And I began to burn through all the dross of my unreal existence, my conceptual existence. And what came forth was an intelligence and a love and a joy and a humor and a generosity and an endlessness and inexhaustible creativity. And for 20 years, second to second, that reshaped my life. What is it like then, now? What is it like over there? And the good news is you can completely re-embrace that and make up for lost time, because time does not exist. And it is a reality that exists completely parallel to this one. So with enough desire, with enough care or passion, you can remember that version of yourself, and you can let that retrospectively burn off the dross of the past 20 years that you accumulated because you didn't fully wake up like you did in that parallel reality. But by tapping into that now, you can retrospectively burn off the dross, burn through the delusions that you have been to some degree deceived by in this timeline of over the past 20 years because of some lack of intensity. So you can make up for lost time because time does not exist, and it is all a matter of parallel realities, but what's required is an earnestness, a sincerity there, a passion and intensity. But when you do, you can connect to that parallel reality and you can enjoy its liberating benefits, its liberating effects. But are you ready then to be living exposed? Because it's a naked existence, you have to understand. The mission-based life is like walking around naked all the time. Obviously not physically, but I think you get my point. It's a psychological state of continual perceptual openness, willingness, courage, generosity, looking for opportunity of where to be of service, not frantically, just naturally, organically. It shows up, but you're available to that. You're aware of it. You're aware towards it. So it's a continual, open, naked awareness that comes with a mission-based life. It's not this closed, sequestered, little isolated, everything on my terms and my schedule and my routine-based life. It's just not that. And if you enjoy that life, I would sincerely, in this day and age, because the ETs are coming and Jesus is returning, at least his kind is, very soon, I would wonder and ask myself, What am I getting out of this sequestered, isolated, routine-based, predictable, controllable little pattern of a false self? If you find joy in that, don't invalidate it, but do question it until you can invalidate it, holistically invalidate it. First you accept it like, oh, interesting. Why do I want this isolated, sequestered, protected, controlling life? That's about me, on my terms. Why do I not want to radiate and shine and give without imposing, but just naturally radiant, naturally beaming, naturally generous, naturally non-possessive, where you couldn't care less about how you end up tomorrow or even today. And you beam with this blazing light of God, where the Christ is with you, where you can actually authentically claim, I know Mr. Christ. You know him better than you know your best friend. You know him like yourself. Because it's a state of consciousness. It's a vibration. It's an entity. It's an entity. If there was something along the lines of a hybrid between a state of consciousness and an entity, it would be that. So get ready for the next level, the next step, which is no longer really gradual. Everybody's gonna have to shift, and everyone's gonna have to shift real freaking soon. Or not. Free will and all. It's a kind recommendation. That's all it is. Just a suggestion. But think bigger, huh? Think bigger. We forget to think bigger. We gotta think cosmically about today's events on planet Earth, our personal life, our reasoning, our choices. We gotta think cosmically. It makes it so much easier to just flow with life, to not take this too seriously. Earnestly, intensely, but not seriously. There's a difference. It is a lack of intensity that leads to seriousness. It is a purity of intensity that burns through seriousness and reveals the natural flawlessness of all that is. Therefore, the joy, the celebration, the laughter, the funniness, the hilarity, the humor, the effortless generosity, the ongoing inspiration, the inexhaustible sourcefulness, the perfect timing. You become awesome. Just by being free, you become epic. Can you let freedom be free? Can you trust in freedom? Freedom is such a good word because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't point to anything. He can't say that, oh, well, this thing is freedom, or that experience is freedom. So as soon as it's this thing or it's that experience, it means it's not freedom, it's a thing. Freedom is formless, and it's the most intelligent, the most accelerative, the most balancing, the most all-knowing. Can you let freedom be free through what you thought of as you? Can you stay in the freedom? Basically. Can you stay with your conviction, freedom?
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit massaro.university and follow the instructions to create your free account.